And we're back here at the Stock Recap Show. It is August 1st, 2022, and I'm super excited to get into it today. And before we do, I just want to say that all these videos are intended for educational purposes only, okay? Trading in the markets is extremely risky. Most people lose money, and my results here are not by any means typical at all. Okay, so I've been doing this for 15 years, and these results are definitely not typical. They are atypical. So I do want to reinforce that before we get into the notable movers here. And so we use Finviz, it's a stock screener preloaded in there. You'll see the top movers of the day, but you really do want to set up screeners yourself, okay? And that's what we did here, like with the convexity list. You can automatically see tickers breaking up to 52-week, breaking out of 52-week highs, okay? So these top two right here are 50% and 60% above 52-week highs. If you're looking for some of this functionality and being able to save these lists, schedule a call at fridaytraders.com and we'll walk you through how to build your own screeners and things like that, okay? And some of the functionality that you may be seeing with these extra lines may be part of Finviz Elite. Like if you have an Elite membership, you can zoom into like the 15-minute chart and the 5-minute chart, and you can see how this moved throughout the day, okay? So you could have bought this morning at 7 or even 6 and made these type of gains in a day. So let's get into the notable movers here. So the first notable mover that I want to highlight is OTRK. So OTRK on track. So this had news recently. On the 26th, they named a new chief medical officer, so that's interesting. But it's really gotten beat up in the last like 9 months. Look at this. So it's at 12, and now it's at 135. And they're in the healthcare information services business, and they operate AI powered through telehealth-enabled virtualized healthcare companies. So it seems interesting to me. The revenue, it's not at all-time highs, so I don't know what the strategy here is. I don't really know anything about the company, but what I do know is a little bit about how supply and demand of shares works in the market. And the shares outstanding here, that's your supply, and the demand is the volume, okay? So if you put the volume over the supply, the shares outstanding, you'll get 2.5, and that's how many times this company turned over today, okay? Because there's only 20 million shares outstanding, but 50 million shares were traded. So that's a huge volume number, and it's just it's pretty convincing for a bull story, okay? So I could see this going up tomorrow to 30% or more. So that's why we highlighted on track. And the next one was REV. So REV had some big news. It got a $1.4 billion bankruptcy loan. So, I mean, the entire market cap's only $500 million, and now they're receiving $1.4 billion in a bankruptcy loan, okay? Similar story with the supply and demand. There's just an imbalance in the markets. So when that happens, you'll start to see some weird things happen with the price movement. And this happened all in one day. This ran 90% in the afternoon. So pretty crazy move here right after they announced this. Okay, so interesting move there. And then the last one I wanted to highlight was GOVX. This was on the list on Friday. So I forget what it did Friday, but we'll check it out. So GOVX. Yeah, okay, so on Friday went from like 215 to 277. Okay, I think it was up like 30%, and it gapped higher about 40%, and we're just it was pretty even on the day, but impressive move, and it held. So if you go back to the daily chart here, you can see it's a clear gap higher, and we'll see what it does tomorrow, but it's definitely on my watch, especially with this volume. So the volume is actually even more than the other two that we highlighted. So impressive, but not too many employees here. The news here is it has to do with the monkeypox vaccine. So you can look into that if you want, or you can just trade the numbers, which is usually what I do. Of course, I like to make sure that it is a legit company that has a good story. The story has to be good. If it's not a good story, you don't even want to be invested in it, because why? But if the story lines up, the numbers are lining up, then it looks good for a trade. So we're holding some shares here too, and that's it for the notable movers. Scary stocks. We can check some of these out. This is really what to avoid. This looks bad. This gapped much lower last week, and it bounced a little bit, but now it's continuing on a downward spiral here, although it is up after hours a little bit. Okay, so you don't necessarily want to go in shorting these stocks because they're so depressed. Okay, but I would say this is probably one to avoid investing in, just because of the current pattern. It looks pretty broken. It's creeping on all-time lows here. Okay, next one is IMAB. Similarly, it touched all-time lows here. It retraced though some of the move. We'll see what this does tomorrow. And the last one is HLLY. I know we talked about this Friday on being a company to avoid, a scary looking stock. This was down again 16% today. So big move. Probably want to avoid companies testing the 52-week low boundaries. Okay, so really want to control your risks in this market. Stick with low position sizing if you're a beginner, and you definitely want to be managing your positions probably daily, I would say, in this market. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to let losses go more than like 7 or 10%. Some of these stocks do move, like I'm expecting them to move 30%. So we actually allow 15% to the downside, which is pretty big, but you really got to know what you're doing for that. So in the beginning, I would say low position sizing, manage your risk right, and make it easier on yourself. Then you can schedule a free call on fridaytraders.com, okay? And myself or a member of my team is going to be glad to assist you on your trading journey for free, because we like to help out beginner traders. We were struggling traders ourselves, okay? And so definitely schedule the free call if you're interested in learning more about that. And that's it for the show. So I'll see you tomorrow. See you then.